Okay, I'm down.
He's been on the show a bunch of times and everyone loves him. John Kiriakou is the only person to go to jail over the CIA torture program, which he blew the whistle on. He is a former CIA analyst and case officer, a Penn USA Award winner and best-selling author. He's the host of Political Misfits and writes at johnkiriakou.substack.com. So welcome, John.
Hey, thank you. Good to be back.
Of course. Thanks for coming. So much to talk about with you. Let's see. Why don't we start with your thoughts on what Elon Musk is doing? And I guess wanted to know specifically about the connection between the deep state and the oligarchy. And in fact, we could maybe start with a clip. There's a clip of Alex Karp from Palantir. Is that how you use Palantir?
Palantir.
Not to be confused with Palante, which is the slogan of the Young Lords, which is why I always struggle with it. And here he is talking about Elon Musk. Let's take a listen, and then I'd love to have your reaction.
What I don't like about what's going on is I just view this as, well, let's watch the Democratic Party commit suicide. And like, I've been a Democrat most of my life. I kind of view myself as outside it, but I don't like watching the Democrats just commit suicide. And what I see is most of the country doesn't really, at this point, given the fraud, waste, and abuse we know is there, 90% of the country is like, get rid of that fraud, waste, and abuse. And I just view this as yet another example of the progressive left boxing themselves into a suicide dance. Now, what the progressive left should be doing is saying, okay, Elon, you're clearly the most qualified person in the world to do something like this. We want to dialogue with you about how you're doing and what are you doing. I don't believe that's actually what happened. And again, I like Elon. I know I think he's obviously the most important builder in the world. And I just think, if you want to say my former side, I don't believe that they're actually engaging. I think it's like another dance where I'm supposed to say, of course, like whatever. It's like there's this one issue where and then you get boxed into, you cannot solve the problem. And then I would say, what is the biggest problem in this society? Biggest problem in this society, from my perspective, is legitimacy of our institutions. Why aren't they legitimate? They're not legitimate because, okay, do any of you really believe that 99% of your taxpayer dollars are being spent? But last and not least, and probably arguably most importantly, there's two revolutions happening. One is transparency and one is AI. Okay, so why is it that we do not know where every penny of our money goes? Like, how do you explain that to people? And by the way, slightly more technically, what large language models do is you can go into the contracts and see exactly what happened. So in the past, we couldn't do this. Now we can. The right response is, we want this to happen. We want to happen. We want to be involved in the dialogue. The real response is, it feels like the people criticizing Elon don't want it to happen. And this is going to destroy those people.
Okay, a lot to unpack there.
Wow.
I know, a lot of incoherence too to sift through.
A lot of incoherence. My first thought is, if he dyed his hair dark brown, he could pass for Rachel Maddow, because it sounded like I was listening to Rachel Maddow make apologies for the Democratic National Committee. That's what that sounded like.
Yeah, someone should do a mashup.
This has nothing to do with the progressive left. You and I are on the progressive left, and we're not Democrats.
Right.
You know, Democrats who consider themselves to be on the progressive left are not progressive or left. You know, when the DNC celebrates the fact that the Democratic candidate for president had just received the endorsement of Dick Cheney, that's not a brag, and that's not progressive, and it's not leftist. You know, there's an issue here too, Katie, where we trick ourselves into thinking that we get to choose one of two choices. Either you choose Elon Musk and Donald Trump tearing the whole place down, or you choose the status quo. Well, that's not the case. There's a third choice, and the third choice is to fix it, right? Republicans and Democrats alike have conveniently forgotten that year after year after year, they appropriate more money than the Pentagon has even asked for. They make excuses year after year after year for the fact that there has never been a successful audit of the Defense Department budget. So fix it. You know, when he says that there's no transparency to the point where we can't see what the federal budget is? Of course we can. It's all online. It's long and it's complicated, and you can't really see what the intelligence community budget is because it's all, hidden here and there and everywhere. William Proxmire could have told us all about that. But people just don't go to the trouble. So there is a third way. It's to fix it, not to either, burn it down like a California wildfire, or just to pretend that there is no problem in government.
Right.
Did you know, my sister just texted me that the Kennedy Library abruptly shut down today at 2:00 because of a presidential executive order. Donald Trump fired everybody.
Right.
And so they just can't remain open. It's a presidential library, for heaven's sake. How does that save us money?
Yeah.
How does laying off everybody at FEMA save us money? Just wait until the next flood or tornado or hurricane or wildfire, and then we're screwed.
Yeah,
so I'm just not getting it.
There's also all this hypocrisy. I mean, so Adam Johnson, who tweeted out that clip of Karp, tweets, Palantir was seeded by the CIA's investment arm In-Q-Tel in 2003. It's received $2.5 billion in federal contracts. These guys are total sponges on taxpayer dollars, yet play the part of rebel outsiders because they want to remove oversight and mop up all the government contracts for themselves. Yeah, which is I think something we see frequently. It's this idea. People who claim to be anti-government, they just want the government funding them, not programs that they don't like.
Exactly. In the immediate aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, the CIA got congressional approval to create a venture capital fund. Unprecedented. Because no governmental entity is supposed to have the kind of power that creation and exploitation of a venture capital fund would entail. But Congress gave it to them. And the first thing they did was to set up this fund, which is quasi-governmental. It's called In-Q-Tel, IN-Q-Tel. It's the word intel, with the slang for intelligence, with a letter Q in the middle as kind of a wink nod to Q from the James Bond movies. Very cute. And so it went out there and it started investing in companies that could invent really cool, really complicated things that the CIA was interested in. And one of the things that it invested in was Palantir. Palantir was a failing tech company until the CIA put money in it. And then all of a sudden it succeeded. And it succeeded because as soon as that money was invested, Palantir essentially began working for the CIA. This was in 2003. By 2013, Palantir was the biggest provider of classified software in the entire intelligence community. And not just the intelligence community, but the Pentagon as well. It was in 2013 that Palantir finally developed software that allowed the CIA and FBI computer systems to be interconnected. Can you imagine? It took 12 years after the 9/11 attacks so that the CIA and the FBI could exchange classified messages. Ridiculous. And now everybody got rich. They got rich with taxpayer money.
Right. Wow.